So what's going on with the Crucified members now, and why did the band break up? Greg Minier will tell us.
What are the other guys in the band doing? I mean, I've seen Jim's Once Dead project. Obviously, he's still full on going to church and, doing that. I mean, is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you what, since back in the day, that guy's lightened up a lot, a whole lot.
Yeah, and
he lightened up a lot. And everyone, I think everyone's, because back in the day when we were in the band, Jim was the oldest one, so he was kind of like Daddy Jim,
Yeah.
He was kind of the boss and stuff, and we were just these punk kids, we were 4 years younger than him. So, and when you're 14 and another guy's 18, that's a big difference in age and maturity. So that was always kind of like that. And since we all grown up, and I didn't see Jim for years and years in between. And then once we, got back together and started jamming a little bit for, a few shows that we did, it's a lot different, everyone being adults, and everyone's, grown up, matured, and relaxed.
Yeah, 17, 18 years ago, maybe it wasn't the greatest thing to have a beer after rehearsal, but now, it's...
Oh, yeah, and we were like, probably because we were so young, we were the most innocent Christian. You got to excuse my brother-in-law. He just walked in the backyard and he's over here farting by me.
Nice.
I'm doing a radio interview. Put that up to the phone and watch out with that cigarette, though. You might light a fire. But,
we don't have smell-o-vision or anything like that.
No kidding, man. But what were we talking about?
We were talking about having a beer after rehearsal, and
yeah. We didn't drink for nothing back then. And the other Christian bands we would play with, most of them were older than us. So they might have. But I remember back then, I was really naive and stuff. And like I said, growing up in that church, it's like, if I saw someone having any beer, I probably would have thought, oh my gosh, they're drinking alcohol.
Yeah, they're obviously doing it to get wasted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, you're having a beer. But then I got older, and after the band, I started playing in cover bands and bars and stuff. I'm like, I like having drinks.
Yeah.
I like having way too many.
Well, as long as it's done responsible, and of course we gotta, remind the listeners, don't drink and drive, especially when you're trying to keep up with me during the show drinking, which I probably shouldn't do.
Yeah.
All right on. What were the reasons for the Crucified breaking up, man? Like, and like, how did everybody take that? And was there like resentment going on there?
Well,
towards anybody in particular, or was it just like?
I'll give you the honest truth, and most people don't know why we broke up, just because it wasn't, really put out there or whatever. But the band was going in all kinds of different directions. I mean, we really, Mark, our singer, he made a rap record. Jim stayed the same. He was just still Jim, I think. But bass player, he worked at Tower Records and became a Tower Records guy. I was really getting burned out, and one reason was because, all our whole short career, if you could even call it that. We got ripped off severely by the labels that we were signed to. There was never any money in it. There was never nothing, and at that time, Christian music was a really, really limited market, so there was no success in the band. And since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a rock star and stuff like that, just to do that, that's all I wanted to do. And so that wasn't going to go that way, playing in that band. At least I didn't think it was. So I started working with this female singer down in Southern California, and was writing straight ahead rock and stuff. And so I was looking really to get out and try to do something that I could make something of, and
right.
I was just kind of getting burned out on the heavy music and stuff. And then the kicker was I knocked up the girl I was seeing.
Uh-oh.
So,
How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. It was that one time. It was just one time. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, with us being so kind of naive and strict as far as how we were raised in the church, I remember, being in Southern California and calling the guys to tell them, what had happened and stuff. And what I thought the band was going to be cool and the pastor of our church was going to flip. And it was the other way around. Well, at least with Jim was the one. I remember I called him and told him, he said, well, you can't play in the band anymore. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that. And I said that because I wanted out, because I felt like even though maybe, it appeared that we were a big band, we weren't. At least we weren't getting paid anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was looking for a way out. That happened. Jim told me that, and I'm like, yeah, it's time to call it. So we did, and I'm sure that, if it was happened a few years after that, maybe we would have been a little more mature and said, hey, man, there's no reason to break up the band. This happened, so you deal with it and do the right thing.
Right.
Wasn't a reason to break up the band, but it did. So they had a few rehearsals with another guy after me, and I think we had a tour booked and stuff like that. Like our first, actual, there were a lot of dates and stuff on it,
right?
Which was cool. But we had a few rehearsals with another guy, and then just I don't know. One of the guys, I don't remember who it was, if it was Mark or Jim, but one of them just said, this is done, without Greg. So that's how the band broke up, man, and that was it.